Now, Hansal Mehta, a filmmaker with a keen eye for stories, is back with yet another explosive one, very appropriately titled Scoop. Hello and welcome, sir.
Hi.
Sir, now you tell me, you've made quite a few projects on journalists, very notably Scam, Scoop. Are you more sympathetic towards us now?
Always been. Always been. I feel that, you put yourselves out there for so little,
This is too true.
and I feel that and Scoop comes out of that. I mean, what did she want? She wanted a byline on the front page. It's, and in the larger scheme of things, it's just that. It's a byline. Yet, you put yourself out there, you go, you take risks, you take chances, you meet people, you actually, in the edit room, it almost feels like it's a question of life and death. You feel like you're changing the world. And yet, in the larger scheme of things, you're just a reporter.
That's
And
true.
so it's that I feel we don't understand that enough, and we don't appreciate that enough, because no matter how we perceive what we read or we see, I think there's a lot that goes into it, in what we see, what we read. Behind those headlines is somebody's sweat, toil, aspirations, and is a normal human being. Is a normal human being. So I wanted to explore that human side of the person. In Scam, I tried. In Scoop, I think I have gone one step further in exploring all these things. The world of crime through the eyes of the reporter, not from the other side. You always see crime dramas from the gangster's lens.
Where the media is always vilified. Now it's become fashionable.
They're
to
vilified, or they are
people,
just
yeah.
people with
Yes.
a mic.
Yeah.
Sir, आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे? Sir,
Yeah.
आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
They're
That's
not
all they
wrong
do.
entirely. Yeah.
So, but I think we need to. So, in many ways, when you see the entire 6 episodes, you realize that it is also an ode to an unsung profession, and the dangers that they face on a day-to-day basis. And they are not necessarily threats to your life or threats to, but you feel your livelihood is threatened. You feel every day. You feel like your livelihood is at stake the day you go to work. Every time you step out of the house,
Yeah.
you need that big story, that scoop, in order to stay relevant. So that the danger is being irrelevant.
So you understood too much now. You are too empathetic. You've had a great insight, I can tell from this. And you're right when you say that, it's a very important story, because even Hussain Zaidi, who was the editor of Jigna Vora, who this story is based on, he had said this entire episode with what happened with Jigna sounded the death knell for crime reporting. And that really is true, It was a turning point in crime journalism in the country.
Well, I don't know if it was the death knell, but yes, it was a significant moment. And you still see, people who go out of the way to report the truth, to find things out, to at least search for the truth. You don't know what is true, what is not, but they go out of the way to do that. You see them often getting either persecuted, harassed,
Now
trolled. You see
Character
that
assassination.
so much that goes on. So this show, in that sense, is symptomatic of what we are today. So there are very telling statistics of the number of, in the last 20 years, the number of journalists who have either been attacked, arrested, or killed. And that's the question. That's the larger question. For what?
Yeah, for what? You can't dwell upon it too much, it'll make you sad, sir. Yeah, I know I can't. So you, with Scam, what stupendous success you saw, And now tell me, a lot of times when I say Hansal Mehta, Harshad Mehta, we had that confusion. How many times have you been called Harshad Mehta since that came out?
That confusion started before Harshad Mehta became famous. When I was in school also, my teachers used to call me Harshad Mehta.
Why? What is that connection?
Because Hansal is not a name.
Right.
Yeah, it was not, my name was something else. They could not pronounce it. I was in a very, very a convent school. So the teachers were unable to pronounce the Sanskrit name, which is very simple, which means the soul. It was Hansal. So they could not. For them, Hansal was a tongue twister. So they started calling me Hansel from Hansel and Gretel. So my father spelled Hansel as Hansal. He removed the U and made my name Hansal. And the meaning was lost, but it became a name. It became a thing. And so as I progressed, people would call me all kinds of names. They would say, Harshad, get up.
Oh,
So I was used to Harshad Mehta much before
Much
Harshad Mehta became famous.
wow.
Yeah,
So that was your connection to
yeah,
scam.
so I think our lives, Harshad Mehta and my lives, somewhere were destined to sort of intersect.
Very lucky for us, they did at some point. Yeah. So, but now with Scoop, are you following your own blueprint of success by adapting another memoir?
No, I've you've seen more failure than success in my life, and for me, there's no blueprint. There's no blueprint for either failure or for success. I think I found the idea when that book was given to me by my producers, Matchbox Shots. They said that there's this book by Jigna Vora, and would you like to adapt it? So I read the book. I realized that there was a larger story. So the idea is always to find that larger story. Like even in Socheta Dalal's book, I found a larger story about systemic rot, which I wanted to convey through her and through the story of Harshad Mehta. Similarly, here I found a larger story about a ordinary girl, ordinary Gujarati girl in Mumbai, searching, with simple aspirations, uh, ambitious, the reporter who becomes a reported. So I found that fascinating. The build up to that fascinating, and it began with that. I mean, it began with that kind of exploration, and then of course Mrunmai, who's my co-creator, Mrunmai Lagu, she had just her film Thappad had released. So I told Sarita, who's my producer, I said, Sarita, can Mrunmai write this? So she called Mrunmai. Mrunmai said yes. So that I think that has given it that very very strong perspective.
I was wondering where that came from.
That strong perspective has come from Mrunmai. I mean, Mrunmai really, you know, amalgamated research, characterization, that world, and gave me material that was very rich to make. A world that I could sort of then take it forward, create characters that were I could explore, that I could feel, that I could feel like they were part of my world.
Because it's a very sympathetic gaze towards Jigna for sure. Because though we were discussing, you've expanded beyond the book, you've done your own research, but the gaze is very sympathetic to her, very sympathetic to how difficult it is for a woman who is a go-getter, who is ambitious, who has a devil-may-care attitude. For men, that might be the algorithm for success, but for women, that is exactly what is stacked up against them. So that perspective, I'm sure, it was valuable.
And it was lovely to, Ira Dubey plays a character who's working in a corporate setup. So she's making that point, she's verbalizing that point that, how the odds, a successful woman has slept her way to the top. And a man is there on merits. And so that, imbalance, it still exists. It's still not gone. This story originated in 2011, but our lens, the gaze, has not changed. And I think it's important to keep telling these stories, to get that those micro shifts in the way people look at a successful woman.
I love how you say that. So to just turn that meter by like 1 point also.
That's all. We have to, it's very, very gradual. Like same-sex marriages, you're getting there. It's taking time. But slowly there's a shift. There's a conversation. And I think as storytellers, that's what you can do. With your gaze, you can sort of tilt the conversation towards the world becoming a more understanding and empathetic place.
So now with Scam, it was such a big hit because we knew Harshad Mehta. You said Harshad Mehta. We knew a Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. We knew a Venkatesh. We knew all these characters. Now, however, with Scoop, all the names are changed based on the memoir, but names changed. Why, sir?
No, because we realized, see, we explored way beyond the book, and we realized that we had to dramatize and fictionalize uh, the world that this book was set in. In order to tell the story in a more compelling and powerful manner, there were characters that had to be imagined.
Like Ira Dubey's character, for instance.
Her, even a lot of the cops, they're composites of different characters. So now when you reimagine the people, the world around it, I think it is only prudent to fictionalize and to make sure that we don't take any real names.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a very conscious decision because we knew that we were fictionalizing, we were dramatizing, we were inspired by Jigna's book, and the seed of a journey became the larger story that we wanted to tell.
I'm very interested in how you researched this book. So now this was a prison memoir, but how did you expand beyond the scope? And according to you, what was the largest story that you found here?
See, the larger story is about a very small thing. It's about a. See, I always say that my work, I make family dramas. Shahid was a Muslim social. It was a family drama. But there was a boy who was trying to, find justice within the system. Scam was again about the Mehta family.
Yeah.
The family drama within which there was one boy who went astray, who was, tricking the system. But at home, he was a family man. Here, it's very similar. She's this girl living in the small, dingy space in Ghatkopar with a family, in a joint family, noisy house and everything, and out to change the world. Out to just change to overcome her own circumstances. What is the aspiration? To buy a house. Little bit of jugaad here and there. So I thought that ordinariness needed to be explored. So that was my, but I wanted the research. I wanted to know around that time all the things that were going on. So the state of the underworld, where they were, how that nexus was looked at, their nexus with the system. So that system we needed to research. So we did, Deepu Sebastian, who was a character in Aligarh. So Deepu was part of the research team. Deepu actually spoke to a lot of people, cops, journalists, colleagues, and put together a document telling us about how things had unfolded. We used that to fictionalize things, to fictionalize characters. Then Ankur Pathak was part of the room. We used him to sort of give us more insight into the world of the newsroom. This because we are talking about print. This is not television also. This is print, and there's a different kind of energy. So he sort of helped us. We spoke to many editors from dailies, from tabloids, and he created all these characters of editors who are an amalgamation of all the people that we spoke to. So we spoke to a lot of them to understand how each of them are different editorial styles.
Yep.
So we sort of tried to distinguish between the different editors that we showed.
And it's very easy to identify. I think if you see it, and I think once after
Those who
people
know it,
watch it, those who know.
Those who know will identify something that they have seen in their lives with the characters that they see.
So now coming to the performances. I know you're a very capable director. I didn't expect any less from you. What I was really blown away by was by Karishma Tanna's performance. She carries this series on her shoulders, very, very beautifully done. What of her previous work have you seen that you decided to give her this big responsibility?
Not seen anything.
Oh.
But that I don't judge people by their previous work because they are directed by somebody else. And Karishma, we had auditioned a number of people. Karishma was one of those auditions. I just happened to see her, and when I came on her audition, she sort of held the screen. I was not looking at the audition. I was looking at her. There was a presence. There was something very, very compelling about her presence. And so I told Mukesh Chabra, who who is the casting director. I called him. I said, yeah, he said, I also felt there's something. So I said, shall we audition her once more? So we called her, auditioned her once more, and it was an instinct. I felt that she would hold the screen, and I have this thing, you know, when people start telling you, a lot of people said, no, sir, she is a TV actor, and you know this. So that makes me even more determined to go against the grain. You realize when you're going against the grain, you have many naysayers, and that makes me even more determined.
So is it nice to prove them wrong? Do you?
It's not to prove them wrong. I think it's nice to see somebody who deserves to have that platform blossom.
And she did it. She took that opportunity, and she really.
Completely. I mean, she worked so hard. I remember we went for the reading, the first reading, and until then the scripts were given for people to understand the screenplay. The dialogues had just been written. So in the readings we were going to give them a dialogue draft. So there were indicative dialogues in the initial, and they were all in English. So when she came, she said, I don't need the script. She knew all the lines. I said, what did you memorize? So she said, no, but she had done all the indicative dialogues.
Wow.
So that was the level of, you know, she had stayed up, and she was, in a couple of months, she was getting married. So she kept all that aside and she worked. And then I said, this is not the script, this is a dialogue draft. So then she worked on a dialogue draft. So it was, I mean, she's one very hardworking. She gave her heart and soul, her life to this. So I think at this moment I see her, you know, when somebody like you says that she really did well, I see her very overwhelmed, and it makes me feel very happy, you know, that she has got, she deserves it. You know, everybody with talent, with a determination to prove, deserves a chance. And you know, you cannot bracket them that, oh, this is a TV actor, this is a film actor, this is a character actor. It is so unfair.
I love it when the personal mirrors a professional and they overcome the odds. It's definitely
It's
lovely to see.
always at her hunger
Yeah.
became, that hunger to prove herself became an extension of the character that she played.
Yeah.
You know, they sort of juxtaposed into each other.
And
Yeah.
we love to see that as the
Yeah.
audience as well, sir. Also, not just the entire cast, what a star-studded cast you have, from Tanishta Chatterjee to, of course, Ira Dubey to even a Danish Seth. You managed to get them all.
Did you see the big surprise in it?
Tejaswini Kolhapuri.
No.
Oh,
The cop, Harshvardhan Shroff.
Oh,
Who is he? Guess. Two guesses.
who is he?
Harman Baweja.
What?
Yes.
Oh, of course, I know Purasanjit was there as the journalist who gets killed, but oh my God, Harman Baweja
Yes.
as Shroff. I am okay. I'm so amused because I think they've managed to keep that out of the publicity material as well. I am completely shocked. Now that you tell me, that is Harman Baweja?
Yes.
Oh wow, how did you imagine him there? Like, he looks very different now. How?
Well, Harman gave up acting nearly 15 years ago. You know, he had his own experiences, and he sort of moved into production and focused his energies on writing, on developing, on production. And we were doing a film together, and we were casting for that film. So he was producing a film for me, we were casting for the film, and we were at Mukesh Chabra's office, and this show was being cast. So I looked at Mukesh, I sent him a message. I said, okay, what about him? He said, he looked at him, and I started clicking his picture.
Wow.
So Harman said, why are you clicking my picture? I said, just like that. Then Mukesh messaged me, you think he'll do it? And so we started talking. Then I spoke to Harman. He was very hesitant initially, very reluctant. He didn't want to get back into the grind, you know, wear the grease paint again. But I said, just do it for me, have fun, come, you know, this time it's without pressure. There's no pressure.
This is his best so far.
Yes,
100%.
because he did it without any pressure. There's no pressure to suddenly compete with another star, to become the next big star. He's on set doing what he enjoys doing, that is acting. So he had such a blast, and it was so lovely to see him again on the first day only. You know, he was a bit nervous when he came. He said, I have not faced the camera for 15 years. To just see him slowly blending into the character and not bothering about the frills.
I still can't get over it, sir. I'm just thinking of Harman Baweja from Love Story 2050 to this, and I'm like, same person. That's
And that
just,
is it's a casting coup, and that's what when you give somebody that chance, everybody deserves. I have had second chances all my life, and I think everybody deserves that.
That's beautifully said, sir. And I think that's a wonderful note to end this interview on. But is there season 2 that's going to come out of Scoop? And what story is that going to be? Oh,
Netflix will sack me if anything.
but there is a season 2, right? We can look forward to.
So it's a multi-season show.
That's excellent. Superb to know, sir. What a pleasure talking to you as
Thank you,
always.
Shilpa.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.